clock on the dash said 10:15. I'd been sitting still for too long again. The walls of that house kept closing in tight, so I grabbed my keys and drove into the night. No map, no plan, no place I had to be, just me and the road and whatever's left of me. The engine hummed low, like it understood. Sometimes the only way forward is just to move. The yellow lines blurred like a half-remembered dream. Things aren't always what they feel or what they seem. I passed through a town where the diner was lit, the kind of warm glow that makes you wanna sit. But I kept on going, windows down in the cold, searching for something I couldn't quite hold. The night air hit me like an honest goodbye, and for the first time in weeks I didn't ask why. There's a rest stop somewhere past the county line, where the big rigs sleep beneath the crooked pine. I pulled in slow and cut the engine down, just listen to the silence of a sleeping town. The stars were out, doing what stars always do, shining like they never heard of me or you. And something cracked open somewhere deep inside, like a door I'd been afraid to push too wide. I drove all night just to feel something again, not running from heartbreak, not chasing the end, just looking for the part of me that got away, somewhere between yesterday and the breaking day. The road gave me something the walls never could, a little bit of quiet, a little bit of good. I drove all night, and somewhere near the dome I found what I was looking for, all alone. Been driving since the last of the daylight died. No company but the radio and the white lines wide. The fields roll past like pages being turned, each mile a lesson I never asked to learn. The pines stand tall on both sides of the way, like old men who've seen the end of every day. I ask myself what it is I'm looking for, but these empty roads have heard that question before. There's a crossroads about 40 miles ahead, where a broken sign points somewhere someone once said. It's worth the drive on a Saturday in spring. I might go left, I might just keep wandering. The asphalt knows the weight of every wheel, every secret that the travelers tried to conceal. It holds the rain, the dust, the late night prayers. These roads don't judge, they just carry us there. I turn the radio low somewhere past midnight. The static filled the cab like a warm yellow light. A preacher's voice came through, then faded away. Something about surrender, something about grace. And I thought about the choices I have made, the paths I chose, and the ones that slowly frayed. But the road just stretched ahead without a word, knowing more than anything I've ever heard. These empty roads know more than I do. They've carried every soul that's broken through, every man who drove into the dark alone, trying to remember what it felt like to be home. They don't answer back, they don't pretend to care, they just lay themselves down flat and take you there. These empty roads know more than I do. And tonight I think I'm finally learning to everyone I ever loved has had a leaving day. Some went slow, some just quietly slipped away. But the radio's been here since the very start, filling up the silence in the hollow of my heart. It doesn't ask me questions, doesn't need a thing, just hums along the highway and lets the old song sing. 3 in the morning on a road I've lost the name of. The only voice that's talking now is the one I've always trusted. There's a station out in Nashville playing something slow, a steel guitar that weeps like only steel guitars know, and a voice so worn and weathered it must know what I feel. All the things I keep inside that never quite get healed, I reach and turn it up a notch to let it fill the cap. For a moment I forget about the good things that I had. It's just the road, the dark and something true, a voice that doesn't change the way that people do. I've had conversations with the static between songs, where you almost hear a melody where nothing quite belongs. And it feels a little like the way that memory works, reaching for a signal through the silence and the hurt. But then a fiddle breaks the quiet and I breathe again. Some late night DJ plays a song that takes me back to when love was easy and the future felt like open sky. The radio keeps playing while the miles go rolling by. The radio's the only voice that stays through the long and lonesome miles and the hazy early days. Everyone I loved has found a different road to take, but the signal never wavers, never dims and doesn't break. It plays the songs that raised me, plays the songs that healed me too, plays them right here in the darkness, just for me and you. When everything goes quiet and the night becomes a haze, the radio's the only voice that stays. There's a stretch of highway where the map goes thin, where the last town's fading and the next won't begin. Just the fields and the fences and the power lines and a hawk up above reading heaven's signs. I wasn't looking for anything in particular then, just driving to be driving like I always have been. But somewhere in that nowhere between here and there, I felt something settle like the cooling evening air. I pulled off on the shoulder where the gravel was red, just sat a while and let the engine rest instead. The sun was going sideways, painting everything gold, and the silence was the warmest thing I'd felt in years. years untold. I thought about the man I was back in that old town, before the weight of wanting things had pulled me down. And somewhere in between that past and where I'm bound, something lost inside me quietly was found. A truck went by and left a trail of dust and air. I watched it disappear like I never knew it was there. And I laughed a little then. I couldn't tell you why. Maybe just the beauty of the ordinary sky. The way the light falls different on a Tuesday afternoon. The way a simple moment can become its own cocoon. I stayed until the stars began to dot the dark around. Two towns on either side, and me right in the middle ground. I found myself somewhere between two towns, not in the spotlight, and not when the curtain comes down. Not at the start, and not at the end of the line, but in the soft in between, where everything's fine, where no one's waiting, nothing is asked of you, where you just exist beneath a sky of deepening blue. I'd been lost for so long, I'd forgotten how it sounds to find yourself somewhere between two towns. I buckle up and check the mirror before I go. And there you are, same as always in the afterglow. I reach to turn the heat up, then I catch your face in the reflection of the window in that empty place. It's been a year or more since you walked out that door, but you're still here beside me like you've been before. I talk to you sometimes in the quiet of the drive. Your memory keeps me company, keeps something alive. Take this road on Saturday mornings light. You'd have coffee in your hand and I'd have mine held tight. You'd read the roadside billboards out loud just to laugh, and the miles would melt like sugar on our behalf. Now I pass those same old signs inside and alone, and I count the billboards just to feel less on my own. The seat beside me holds the shape of what we were, every curve and hill and hollow, every sweet blur. There's a gas station near the turnpike where we stopped. You got those peanut butter crackers that you loved in part. I still buy them sometimes, leave them on the seat. Just a small and quiet habit, like the sound of your heartbeat. I don't do it out of sadness, don't do it out of loss. I do it 'cause some love don't ever pay the cost. It just lives on in the small things and the drive. A passenger who keeps the road and me alive. If this road we're riding moved you somewhere deep inside, stay a little longer. There are more miles left to ride. Leave a heart along the highway, let them know you came this way. Your company keeps this music finding something more to say. Your memory rides in the passenger seat, in the hum of the engine, in the rhythm of the beat. When the road gets long and the night comes rolling in, you're right here beside me, like you've always been. I don't try to talk you out of staying there. I just roll the window down and let us share the air. Maybe love don't leave, maybe love just shifts its beat and rides on as a memory in the passenger seat. I left before the sun had any right to rise, before the dew had lifted from the stubbled field outside. Tossed a bag in back and didn't say a word to no one. Just watched the porch light shrink until it was gone. There's a kind of leaving that don't make a sound. It just slips out like a whisper, doesn't wave, doesn't turn around. And every mile I put between me and that door feels like setting something down I'd carried far too long before. Past the church where Daddy used to preach on Sunday, the hardware store where I worked every weary Monday, the park bench where she told me it was over for good, all the places I had stood and tried the best I could. But now they're just a backdrop in the rear view glass. Everything smile just feels a little more like letting go. Out here past the county signs, the land gets open wide. The sky stops being partial and expands on every side. And I breathe in something clean that I forgot I knew. The smell of distance, the relief of something new. I'm not running from the wreckage of the years behind. I'm just giving room and quiet to a crowded mind. Some men find their answers kneeling in a pew. Mine come rolling in at 60 on a highway through and through. Every mile feels like letting go of the weight I've been carrying, the things I'll never know. Every river that I cross, every overpass I clear, takes me further from the worry and a little less the fear. I don't know where I'm going, but the going feels like grace, like the road is given back to me, the room to find my place. Every mile feels like letting go, and every mile I feel a little more like coming home. The night has a way of stretching when you're by yourself. Every sound comes closer, every shadow shows itself. The moon up there is bigger than it ever seemed before, like it's leaning in to listen at the window and the door. I've got the window down and the engine barely breathing, moving through the dark without a reason or a reason. And the night feels different, deeper, somehow more. Like it's something you've been waiting for. There's a diner lit up yellow on the side of the road, the kind that's always open for the weary and the cold. I could stop and sit a while, let someone refill my cup, but there's something in the solitude I'm not quite done with yet. waitress waving through the window at nobody. The truckers bent above their plates in their own company. We're all alone together on a night like this. There's a sweetness even here inside the loneliness. I've had nights where the silence was a heavy thing to hold, where the dark came pressing down and the emptiness felt cold. But tonight it's different, like a coat I've finally worn in, the kind of alone that feels like something worth exploring. The stars are out in numbers that no city ever shows, and the longer that I drive, the more the quiet grows into something like a conversation without words. The most honest thing I've felt or seen or heard. The night feels different when you're alone. The dark has a texture and a warmth of its own, not the kind that swallows you, not the kind that breaks, but the kind that smooths you out, the kind that slowly wakes. Something that's been sleeping underneath the noise. Something quiet, something steady, something that rejoices in the hum of miles and the deep of the unknown. The night feels different when you're alone. Came in on the signal like a ghost between the static. First a few guitar notes, something soft and automatic. I knew it before the first verse even cleared the air. The melody we danced to like we didn't have a care. I almost turned it off, almost changed the station, but something in me held on for the whole duration. Hands a little tighter on the wheel, eyes ahead, listening to every word the way we used to in bed. Remember the first time that we heard it on the porch. You leaned your head in close, and I could feel the warmth. We said we'd claim it for our own, our song, our tune, dancing barefoot underneath a late September moon. I remember every detail like a photograph in hand. The way you hum the chorus, the way you let me understand that love can make a song into a place you live inside. And some songs never fully leave you, no matter how hard you try. The song ran out somewhere outside the county sign. The DJ moved to something else and broke the spell in time. But for those 3 minutes driving through the midnight air, I was back beside you in that summer back there. It didn't hurt the way I thought that it would hurt. It was softer, like the feeling beneath the Sunday shirt. A reminder, not a wound, a voice instead of an ache, something given back to me for that brief and beautiful sake. If this midnight song found something sleeping in your soul, stay close, there are still roads left to make you whole. Press that button, let them know you passed this way tonight. Your voice on this highway keeps the music burning bright. I heard our song on a midnight drive, and for 3 minutes you were sitting right beside me, alive. In the notes, in the chorus, in the quiet steel refrain, in the feeling that some love never fully leaves the lane. I drove on through the darkness, humming what I heard, carrying the melody like a gift without a word. There are songs that find you when the night is at its prime, and I heard our song on a midnight drive. I've slept in 16 states this side of the Mississippi. From a dusty motel bed to a truck stop outside the city. I've watched the sunrise color every kind of sky, and still the only home I know is you and I. They say home is where the heart is, and I believe that's true, because my heart keeps pointing like a compass back to you. I may be somewhere new tonight beneath the stranger's moon, but somewhere out there, darling, you're my home. There's a woman in a kitchen in a town I know by heart, who made her coffee strong and kept the light on in the dark, who knew the way I liked my silence and when to let it be, who understood the wandering that lives inside of me. I left because the road was calling, not because I didn't care. I left because I love the world and needed more of it to share. But every night I lay my head, I drift back through the phone to the only place that ever felt like home. The miles don't subtract the way you think they might. Love don't thin out like the radio in the night. Some things hold their signal through the mountains and the years, right through the static and the distance and the tears. I carry you in everything, the way I take my coffee black, the song I hum while driving when I think no one looks back, in every stretch of road I take, wherever I may roam, somewhere out there. Darling, you're my home, somewhere out there. You're still my home, the place inside me that I carry when I roam. Not a house, not an address, not a dot upon a map, but the feeling in my chest when I imagine coming back. The world is big and I've been given room to breathe it in, but every road I travel circles back to you again. Through every long and lonely mile, through every dark I've known, somewhere out there, you're still my home.
I told the folks at the diner I had somewhere I was heading, left a 20 on the counter, didn't wait for any reading of the menu or the weather or the score from yesterday. Just got back in my truck and started making my way. The truth is I've got nothing waiting at the other end, no appointment and no deadline, no long lost friend. But I keep my foot steady and my eyes out on the line, driving like a man who's running perfectly on time. There's a freedom in the fiction of a destination made. It gives the restless something solid and a purpose unafraid. The world treats you different when you look like you belong, when your eyes are pointed forward and your stride is sure and strong. So I drive like I'm expected at a table set for one, somewhere past the horizon where the highway and sky run into each other easy in the long late afternoon. And I drive on like I've somewhere to get to soon. But the longer that I drive, the more the pretending falls away. And
then I'd let myself to say, I just love the road, the rhythm, love the feel of moving on, love the way the ordinary becomes beautiful and strong. When you see it from a window at a gentle rolling speed, the farmhouse and the water tower, everything you need to remind you you're alive and that the world is something true. And all that driving somewhere, it was always driving you. I keep driving like I've got somewhere to be, like the road ahead is pulling something out of me, something patient, something steady, something I lost track of in the quiet life I settled for instead of open love. Maybe there's no destination worth the name, but the driving itself is never quite the same. Each mile is something given, and each mile something free. I keep driving like I've got somewhere to be.
There are days when the engine won't turn over in my chest, when the weight of everything sits heavy on the rest of the plans I made and the promises I held and the future that I built before it slowly fell. On those days I drag myself into the cab and go, just to let the road remind me what I used to know, that the world keeps turning whether I'm aboard or not, that the road keeps moving, carrying what I've got. There's a valley south of Roanoke where the fog sits low, where the mountains hold their breath and let the river go. I drove through there one morning when I couldn't feel a thing, when the gray inside me matched the gray the valley brings. But the road bent slowly round the mountain's stony shoulder, and the sun broke through the way it does when the mist gets older. And I breathed in through my nose and let it fill me right down low. The road, it kept on moving, even when I let go. Think about the times I've sat too long in one place, waiting for something different to come stare me in the face. But stillness only multiplies the things that hold you down. The road don't offer answers, but it carries you to ground where you can feel the distance and the motion in your bones, and realize the moving is a kind of coming home. Not to a place, a person,
but somewhere in my bones I know the road keeps moving, so eventually I'll go.
I packed what fit inside a duffel on a Tuesday night, left the porch light on as though I planned to come back right. Turned the key and backed out slow without a rear view look, like a man who's closed a chapter in a half-read book. I told myself I needed air, a change, a little room, that the walls had grown too thick and the hallway grown to gloom. But the truth came later, somewhere past the county's edge. I left without a reason, I could ride on any ledge. Was it the silence in the kitchen after supper's done, or the feeling in the mirror of a man half undone? The job that paid the bills but never fed the soul, the slow and subtle leaking from a poorly patched hole. Maybe it was nothing, maybe everything at once, the particular combination of 1,000 small accounts that made the road look better than the ceiling staring back, made the leaving feel less heavy than the staying on track. By the time I hit the flatlands, I was already clear that the thing I'd been running from was mostly just the fear of standing still too long inside a life that fit too tight, of never seeing what the world looked like at night. From a different set of coordinates and a different kind of sky, not a runaway, not broken, just a man who needed to try. The only way to find it is to move until you know that what you left behind is what you needed most to grow. I left without knowing what I was running from. I know it now, I know it now, beneath this traveling sun. I was running from the smallness of a life held back by doubt, from the part of me that whispered when the fire had gone out. I was running toward the version that I'd kept inside a drawer,
Now the road has taught me what I couldn't see back home. Sometimes you have to leave yourself to find yourself alone.
I pulled into a field somewhere between the towns, cut the engine off and let the dark come settling down. Laid my seat back, folded both my arms across my chest, and let the sky above me just do what it does best. 10,000 stars or more, all doing what they know. No explanation given for the reason or the show. They just burn up there in silence, steady, certain, and divine. The stars don't ask questions, they just shine. I've spent a lot of time on either end of why, asking what's the purpose and how deep does meaning lie. I've read the books and questioned all the wisdom I could find, and still the doubt kept circling at the borders of my mind. But lying in this field tonight, looking straight above, there isn't any question left that matters more than love. The universe has been here, burning long before my time, and the stars don't ask questions, they just shine. My grandfather once told me, on a night not unlike this, when I asked him where we go and what the afterlife is, he just pointed up and said, son, you don't have to know, you just have to trust the burning and believe the glow. He's been gone now 20 years, and I still hear his voice in the way the night sky tells me it's not really my choice to understand the mystery or unravel the design. The stars don't ask questions, they just shine. The stars don't ask questions, they just shine. They light the road for everyone who's searching for a sign. They don't require an answer, and they don't require proof. They just hold their light above us like a steady kind of truth. And somewhere in the watching, on a still and open night, the questions I was carrying grow softer in the light. I close my eyes
just shine.
My daddy wasn't much for talking, kept his feelings close. Showed his love in actions and in showing up the most. I used to wish he'd tell me what he thought and what he felt, but now I understand the language of the things that go unspelled. On a long drive once he'd put his hand on my shoulder for a mile, didn't say a single thing, but that hand said everything worthwhile. I learned more from that silence than 1,000 speeches heard. Sometimes love lives deeper than the reach of any word. I've sat beside the water where the river just goes on, and let the moving quiet fill the space, and she was gone. No use in talking to the trees, no use in crying out. The river doesn't answer back, but takes away the doubt. In its steady, calm insistence that the world goes on regardless, that the hills don't stop for heartbreak, and the sun won't stop regardless. There's a wisdom in the watching and the sitting and the still, more than any book I read or any voice could ever fill. On a midnight drive through Kansas, when the radio went dead, I sat a full 2 hours with the thoughts inside my head. No music and no signal and no voice to fill the dark, just the engine and the wind and the sound of my own heart. And something worked itself out in that quiet that I've held, something that no conversation ever quite dispelled. The way the truest things don't need a platform or a stage, they just wait in the stillness like the wisdom on a page. I learned more in silence than in words, more in watching than in all the things I've heard. In the pause between the sentences, in the space between the songs, in the quiet of a road I've traveled all night long. Words are what we use when silence gets too wide, but silence is where all the real things come to hide from the noise I've been out here long enough to forget what started this. The town I left, the life I had, the things I used to miss. But somewhere in the driving, something's coming back to me. Like a signal finding clarity across the miles and the sea. Of everything I thought was gone for good behind the hill is calling through the windshield like it's calling to me still. And I think if I keep driving through the dark before the dawn, I might find whatever left me when the good years moved along. I've met men at the roadside who were heading back like me, who'd been gone a season or a decade, hard to see which direction was the right one when the past and future blurred into one long winding highway through the seasonal slur. Of the years that keep on coming, whether ready or not ready. An old trucker in Montana said, keep your hands steady. Said the road will show you something if you trust it long enough. That going back don't mean you failed, it means you loved. I can see it in the distance now, the water tower standing over the little town I left, without quite understanding that the thing I was looking for had always been right there, in the ordinary grace of the ordinary air of a place that holds your history and knows your given name, where the faces at the diner counter smile just the same. And the road that took me outward now is turning back around, leading me in circles to the place where I was found. If I keep driving, maybe I'll find my way back to the self I left behind on some unmarked, unlit track, to the love I didn't honor and the home I didn't see, till the road stretched out between us showed the truth of it to me. Every mile I drove away was just a mile I drove toward everything I needed in the simplest, truest word. So I'll keep driving till the roads run out and the porch lights all go black. If I keep driving, maybe I'll find my way back. Tell me in the comments, which mile, which lyric, which moment on this long road touched you most. Every story shared here becomes part of the journey. We're all riding together